Hello there, this is Carrie, and welcome to Cottage Crafts 723. I've been inspired here by Erin and Jen. They have a Facebook group where they do this Blue Book Sundays every week, and I thought I'd like to participate in that. Erin is on YouTube, she is Coop's Place, and Jen is Clever Duck Creations, I think. I'll link them both down in the description box, so go check them out if you don't know them, and give them some crafty love. So, I'm just going through my bits and pieces here, trying to figure out, what I've got, what I want to use. I'm using a half um, notebook size here. I picked up a bunch of these from Walmart, and I had it laying around, so I thought I would use that for the glue book. And I'm just trying to figure out what I want to go where. I know I want this girl on the front. Not sure though about what I'm going to be doing on the back. I rather like the image here on the right as well, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to use that. We'll see. Don't have much of a plan really. I'm just working it out as I go along. As you do. So I am just gluing the cover of the book here, and I'm going to lay the paper over the top of the book, glue it down, and then cut around it. I think that would be the easiest way. This is not an exact science by any stretch of the imagination, so there really aren't any rules when it comes to a glue book. You don't have to know exactly where you're going before you start. So I'm just going to play around here. I like having pieces peeking out from behind the main image rather than, everything sitting separately on the page. It makes it feel as though, all of these different scraps belong together. And if something disappears almost completely underneath another layer, well, that's fine too. While I'm playing around here with all of this, I thought this might be a good time to tell you about another project that I've got going on here on the channel, particularly for those of you who might be new. This is called the Traveling Journal, and it's a part story and part craft along with me. The idea behind it is a little different from, your regular craft along, because I'm actually telling you a story as we create. Well, actually, I tell you a story about the journal, about the journal's travels, and then I drop a free little printable in the description box for you, and then the next video then becomes a craft along where we add that piece to the journal. So for example, the first week was the journal cover. The second week was a letter that was poignant to the story. And we created the pocket and everything. But the first week, I gave you an actual copy of the front cover of the journal as you see it in the story. And the second week, I gave you an actual copy of the letter that we read together in the second episode. And that'll continue through each episode. As we go through each episode, we'll have the guest check-in, we'll have a map of the town and photographs, etc. As the story unfolds, we'll make all of the things that belong inside the story. So if someone receives a letter, we make the pocket for the letter, etc. that I was just saying. So we're not just making a journal and then inventing a story to go with it. We're actually building the journal from the story as it happens. And the world that story takes place in is called Willow Hollow. Now, Willow Hollow started as a fairly innocent little idea, and then it grew, as these things tend to do. You start with a little cottage and a journal, and before you know it, you've got several generations of women old letters, family history, mysterious books, things turning up where perhaps they shouldn't be, and touched with, of course, a little bit of magic here and there, and a cat. Obviously, a cat. Because apparently I cannot create an entire fictional world without putting a cat in charge of it. At the center of Willow Hollow is Willow Cottage, and that's where we meet Lena. Lena is in her 50s, and she is the keeper of the journal. And what I mean by the keeper of the journal is that the journal goes out on these little adventures, and it helps somebody out here and it helps someone out there. But between it helping these different people, it always returns back to the cottage, to Lena. And of course, then there's Reggie, her cat. Now, I'm not saying Reggie runs Willow Cottage. I'm just saying that nobody has yet informed Reggie that he doesn't. Then we have Grandma May. Grandma May is very important to Lena and very important to the story. And although Grandma May belongs to an earlier part of Lena's life, she's left quite a lot behind. Memories, certainly, but also letters, stories, and perhaps a few things Lena doesn't completely understand yet. And that's all I'm giving you about Grandma May. Because I know what some of you are like. You'll have the entire mystery solved before I've even found the lid to my glue stick. And then we have Sarah. Sarah is really where our first journey with the travelling journal begins. She comes to Willow Cottage carrying a story of her own, although she doesn't necessarily understand what it is she's looking for when she arrives. And that's one of the things I love about Willow Hollow. People don't always arrive because they know what they need. Sometimes they simply find their way there, and somehow the journal seems to know the rest. The journal itself doesn't belong to any one person forever. It appears for a season, someone adds their story to it, and then eventually it moves on. When it goes, who receives it, what they add to it, and why it found them becomes part of the history of the journal, and eventually it all finds its way back to Lena. Now, there is a considerable more going on at Willow Cottage than I'm telling you. There may be, an old study. There may be shelves filled with some rather interesting things. There may even be records that go back considerably further than anyone would reasonably expect them to. But I'm saying nothing. You'll have to come along for that part. And the lovely thing about the craft along with me is that you don't have to make exactly what I'm making. Use what you have. Change the colors. Change the papers. Dig through your scraps. And maybe even use that piece of lace that you've been saving for 17 years. Because apparently Tuesday afternoon at 2:15 has never felt quite like the right occasion. This could be the occasion. Because apparently we're supposed to actually use our craft supplies. Who knew? So that's what Willow Hollow and the Travelling Journal are about. It's a little bit of storytelling, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of magic, and a lot of crafting. And hopefully somewhere that we can disappear into together for a little while. And if that sounds like your sort of thing, you can go back to the beginning and meet Sarah and Lena, Grandma May, and of course Reggie. But I'm not telling you any more than that. You'll have to discover the rest with me. Alright, so as I'm cutting out the main image for the front cover, and this is the lady I showed you earlier, sitting at her table with a laptop. I absolutely love the look of her, because she looks determined. This woman is on a mission. She has somewhere to be and something to do, and whatever it is, she has clearly decided it's getting done today. She also looks like she has an entire life together. You know the type. Her emails answered, her laundry folded. She knows where the scissors are. She's probably never spent 20 minutes looking for something that is underneath the piece of paper directly in front of her. I don't know whether I trust her, to be honest. Nobody should be that organized. And she's sitting there at that laptop looking as though she's about to accomplish something truly important. Maybe she's writing a book. Maybe she's running an empire. Maybe she's just discovered that somebody has been keeping a mysterious journal for the last 1,000 years or so. And she's thinking, right, I'll get this sorted out. She definitely has that look about her. If she turned up at Willow Cottage, I don't think she'd be standing around and asking Lena about what's going on. She'd have the kettle on, Reggie fed, the journal open, and 3 unanswered mysteries organized into little folders before lunchtime. This is the point where I usually have absolutely no idea what the finished piece is going to look like. She clearly does, but I don't. In my head, of course, it's absolutely fabulous. Whether my hands have received that information remains to be seen. But that's half the fun of doing something like this. You're starting with one image and a pile of completely unrelated bits of paper, and somehow you're going to convince everybody that they were always meant to be together. That's basically collage. Creative matchmaking for paper. And occasionally you have to break up a relationship that clearly isn't working. No, I'm sorry, little pink flower. It's not you. It's me. You're going back to the pile. This is the stage where nothing is safe. I'll put something here and move it over there, decide I like it better where it was at, and then spend 5 minutes trying to remember exactly where it was actually at. Meanwhile, our lady here is looking at me as though she would have had the entire cover finished 20 minutes ago. I'm beginning to feel judged. Before she starts giving me any kind of instructions here, I'm going to ink around the edges of some of these pieces. I just want to darken them slightly and give them a little bit more definition. It helps separate the layers so that when everything is sitting on top of each other, you can still see those individual edges. And I do like the little bit of age that it gives them as well. Although looking at her, I wonder if she has a few secrets. Because someone who looks this accomplished has definitely got some secrets. Look at her. She's sitting there as though she's absolutely nothing could rattle her. She's got the laptop open, she's focused, she's got things to do. That is not the face of a woman who just spent 45 minutes trying to remember the password she changed yesterday. No. She knows the password. She probably has a password manager. She's probably backed up that password manager. And I think actually that's what I like about her. The more I look at her, the more I feel as though there's a story there. I'm not going to decide what a story is, though. I think I'm going to leave that open. Because once this glue book starts filling up, perhaps she'll tell us. Or perhaps she won't. She doesn't particularly look like the type who tells everybody her business. So we're going to do the dangerous part. I'm going to start gluing things down. Up until now, we've been able to change our minds. Move this, move that, take something away, put it back, move it again, pretend that moving it 1/4 of an inch has completely transformed the composition. But once the glue comes out, well, we're committed. Well, mostly committed. We are crafters. We've all peeled something back up that had absolutely no intention of ever being peeled back up again. So I'm going to start with these background layers and work my way forward. And hopefully I can remember where everything went. Our lady certainly looks as though she remembers. She's probably been watching this entire process thinking, honestly, just glue it down. All right, I'm doing it. And already you can see how those inked edges are helping the individual layers stand out. Nothing dramatic, just enough to give it a little more depth. Then we'll start bringing some of these smaller pieces back in and eventually put our mysterious lady into her final position. Now that I'm actually gluing all of this down, I'm starting to see the whole thing come together. And this is usually the point in a project where I start noticing the things that I didn't notice when everything was loose. A little corner that needs tucking under something. A piece that suddenly looks as though it needs to move slightly to the left, which of course is particularly helpful after you've put glue on it. That's when all the really good ideas arrive. Never 5 minutes earlier when everything was movable. No. The glue has touched the paper first, then your brain says, you know what would look better? Thank you. Very helpful. But I think that's part of the charm of making something like this. It doesn't need to be perfect. Actually, I don't think I'd want it to be perfect. I want to be able to look back through this book later and remember making it. The little decisions, the things that didn't quite go according to plan, the piece I nearly didn't use and then ended up loving, because those are the things that give a handmade project its personality. I'm really curious to see what happens with this particular glue book, because I genuinely don't have a plan for the inside. We've started with this very determined looking lady on the cover, but I have absolutely no idea where she's going to take us. And maybe that's how this little glue book should be. No rules, no particular theme that I have to stick to, just whatever catches my attention that week. Maybe one page will be very cottagecore, another might be vintage, one might be covered in flowers. And knowing me, at some point we're probably going to end up with Reggie, a cat of some description in there, a teapot, a teacup. I don't know. I don't know how, I don't know where, but statistically, the chances are extremely high. And that's what I really like about a glue book. There are no rules. It's somewhere to put all those things we save simply because we like them. They don't have to have a purpose. They don't have to become part of some enormous project. They don't even have to make sense together. If you like it, you can put it in the book. What a concept. Because I know I'm not the only crafter who has little pieces tucked away everywhere. Pretty scraps of paper, pictures cut from something, bits of packaging, a label, a flower, a tiny piece of lace, and heaven forbid anybody suggests throwing any of them away. Throw that away? Absolutely not. I have plans for that. Do I actually have plans for it? No. Have I had it for 6 years? Possibly. But that's completely beside the point. And maybe that's another reason Glue Book Sunday appealed to me. It gives all those little things somewhere to go. We're finally giving the scraps a purpose. This is their moment. Once our little lady here is completely settled into a new home, she's going to set the tone for the whole book, I think. Although I'm still not entirely sure whether I'm making this book or whether she's somehow taking charge of the project. Looking at that expression, I'm beginning to suspect the latter. And for now, whatever her story might be, she is definitely keeping it to herself.